All right, you know what it is. It's the boy Kamal Hart on the chart, and we're going bar by bar. So, kind of a noisy pre-market. Uh, some choppiness, move lower, move higher, move lower. So it's really just kind of a range. It's not too clear where the highs and lows are. Maybe some highs up here. Obviously, we have some lows down here. But I'll probably start off just measuring, get a feel for this leg. I want to see how prices respond to this channel. This first move below is the lower high. That might be an aggressive trade that you could take. It's the first breakout. I'll skip it, but you're seeing that. You might take that. That right there that's it's arguably not a great trade, but that's the reversal, the failed second entry long right there. You might not get the scalp though. Yeah, just enough for that scalp. So you kind of don't make much on that. Um, this almost looks like a yeah. This is basically a second entry short. Um, got this double bottom, so it becomes one low. That's the first entry. Here's the second entry. So I'd also consider this trade as well. That one looks like it traps you though. It breaks lower and then stops you out in the same bar. So there really wouldn't have been a way to manage that any better. Probably just get stopped out. And then it ends up going where you want it to go. So just, I noticed that today. There are a few traps today. Um, we just got to be a little careful as we trade. You can see that we're kind of making some lows here as well. It's a little hard to say where prices are going right now, but I see at least maybe a range like this for now. We'll see what sticks. There is a second entry long that we missed. I'll mark it though, just based off of this range, off this high, first entry, second entry right there. Getting that pullback, pretty big pullback. Also, another thing to note is that we do have those highs there. So maybe there's something off the low side, but you can see it doesn't fit that great off the lows yet. So let's see if we go test those lows. Not quite, make a double bottom. Here's a second entry short. The setup isn't great, so I'll probably skip it. Works out though. It's aggressive. Why is that aggressive? Because typically I don't want to see this bar break below this signal bar, but because it broke below and closed on this very low, and it's only one tick away from where the signal bar entry would have been, you know, you might risk that. You have to hold it through this pullback. You get your scalp, but it doesn't look like it went very far regardless. And here you're getting that higher low. It's almost looking like it's giving you a reversal. So like right here, we're starting to trend up off of there. Then here's where I took my first trade. Um, just a reversal pattern, pretty straightforward. I would prefer it to be closer to that EMA, but it's not really that bad. The main thing is that when this bar broke above and then closed back inside, um, I need to be looking at this like this might be a failure, and it does fail. And here's where I think the past 2 days I've actually done this, and this is really not good. But I just, I moved my stop and I tried to play with it a little bit, which is a terrible idea, but what can I say? And then I added on right there, just trying to buy the dip and see if I can sell it at my break even. It moves a little lower, trends higher, gives me a couple legs down. I mean, it's really just a bad management all through here, terrible management. Um, uh, the problem really is that it's kind of tough to see where prices are going right now. That's really my issues. Like I really it's really challenging to get a feel for where prices are trying to go. So I'm not really sure where I need to be buying all the way. Like maybe there's something like this. So this is a possibility. So maybe that's more so what we're dealing with. And you can see that if this is what it was, then I was buying on the upper side, and that's not going to work. But I was eventually able to get that push up that I needed, and I just exited a little bit before my break even on this first contract. But when you take the averages of these two positions, that ends up being a pretty profitable trade. Just I don't like the way I managed it. It's not the best. And so since I had made some decent money on that trade, I will show you what I did from here. So when I was trading in the morning, I didn't actually use this bigger trend. I only just now kind of saw it for what it was. Um, so right here, when you see this reversal pattern, right, from this low, when lower once fails, twice, looks like it's about to fail. Um, I entered, but I really shouldn't have because we're on this higher side of the range. I don't want to go long here. I want to go long over here. So obviously I enter and then I get stopped out. At least on this trade, what I like about this trade is that I was diligent. I was not about to let myself get stuck in something like this again. So I just exited once it ticked below. Um, and it works out because I didn't feel too proud of myself trading or managing my trade over here. So I felt like it was fair. I gave some money back to the market just because I was being dumb. And then right here again, it was kind of a similar mistake as this one. I'm buying on the wrong side of the range. Granted, I wasn't using this range during the day, but why I entered was because when this reversal pattern failed, I was assuming that off this green bar, this was more of like a re-entry, and that we'd probably get a push higher. Um, but that push higher never really comes. And I even did better on this one because instead of waiting for this big signal bar to be my exit, I just exited 2 ticks below my entry bar, which is a better exit, and I saved myself a few ticks doing it like that. So at this point, I had made some good money on this sort of wild trade. I gave about half of it back, and then I gave the rest of it back on that trade. So I'm just under break even at this point on the day, which is fine. I don't really mind. Really, what I care the most about is just like following my rules. So I wasn't too pressed about that. I was just waiting to see what else we'd get. And then right here, I like how we make it all the way back down to these lows. So that's a really good sign. In fact, there's a double bottom right there. Um, and that would have been our higher low, but it never quite set up. And then we had another kind of push higher. And then when I saw this green bar, it's not a higher low, but I took it as like a hidden higher low. And it's a little bit of an aggressive entry, but I like this setup. Just trying to get it to this midline and possibly to the other side. So I took that trade on a stop, and I see I got my scalp, and then I just let it play out. And then there I got my runner. So on this trade alone, I pretty much made back all this money from losing over here. So, and this was actually like a good setup, a good management. Of course, the management on that runner isn't that great. That's not a great exit, even though it's kind of stacking up a little bit, so I can understand. Um, it's not a great exit. I should have waited, like always. So that's really my goal for this weekend. Is I really need to work on holding my runners because I am exiting way too early. So basically, I see a micro trend right there. You see, we get that kind of like break higher, but you wanted a bot. That's not that good of a signal. And then you get this bar. Here's the second entry. Now, when I was trading, this bar didn't break above. It like moved lower and opened just at this high. If this morning, I would have definitely bought that trade. The way it's set up like this, I'm not as into the trade. Maybe I'd have a limit order, just one tick above this bar, and see if I get filled, but I don't get filled. So I don't know if you would have really been able to enter this trade off of this kind of bar, but it's hard to say. I don't think so. So anyway, we're back at this. We're back at the trend line. Um, we're kind of pushing higher, so you got to respect that. We've had two bounces now off this channel. You got to keep in mind that there could be like a channel now. Even though we're at the high side, we're getting some strong bull moves. I just want to be aware of that. Um, then you get kind of like a higher low there. But really, we're going to see if we're going to retest this high. Then you get your reversal pattern here. So here's a really interesting trade. If you take this trade, I can really understand why. This really looks like a great trade. It's a reversal pattern. We're at the highs of the channel. There's a really big reward to risk situation going on. Um, but if you have this bigger, like, if you have this bigger channel, you're kind of looking at this and you're saying, it's a little sketch. If anything, because it didn't see how like it doesn't really get below this EMA. So that's telling us something. If anything, I want to get a line on that. I might not want to take this trade yet, but if you did, you did, and that's what happens. Unfortunately, the way this bar's set up, it would have been great if you could have exited somewhere in here, but it just didn't give you that setup, and this is just one of those trades that doesn't work. Now, an interesting thing that I noticed that if you did draw this line, let's say you drew this line, you notice how this trade is setting up, like even if our lows are here. You can see how this trade sets up right into these lows. So that's a little subtle sign. I mean, you would have been pretty quick to notice this on the fly, but look how you're trading right into these lows. That's never a good place to trade. You want to see it pull back up here. So that could have helped you stay out, but if you took that trade, you took it, and you just have to take the L. I would just exit right there. It's never, I don't know, like it's never a good idea to do what I did over here. I've done it 2 days in a row now, and in a certain sense, I'm actually very disappointed, but it's something I'm gonna have to work out over the weekend and the next few weeks, um, just to get a feel. Let's see if we can get a measured move or anything like that. Um, Possibly from here. Let's see if we get up there or not. Um, so like I'm saying, it's not clear where we're going right now. It's really unclear what's going on. I'm almost willing to make this a range because you can see we keep kind of hitting resistance right there, and we found support down here. So I'm willing to treat this like a range and just see if we get any setups. So you can see that we have um, on this channel, we have the breakout, move to a new high. Now we're starting to trend down. See how this one actually got through the EMA? That's a better sign. So off this high, um, it never actually breaks lower, so it's kind of like this is all one high. So that's the first one. Here's the lower high. It breaks below, but it doesn't close below, and it's kind of sideways. And then right here, it's kind of a it's not kind of, it is a double top, and it's also a reversal pattern. So I would consider going short there. You know, we're back at the highs of this range. Pretty good risk reward situation. That's a good trade. But it pulls back quick. You can see how sideways we are. So I'm just being very careful, very, very careful, because we're going definitely sideways at this point. There's no reason to force it. Being a Friday, especially, you know, it can really get to you. And that's a lot of the reason why I ended up not just taking my loss on this trade, because you know, on a Friday you want to end the week strong and you don't want to give back too much of your profit. So you tend to fudge your rules a little bit just to give yourself some space in case there's noise, especially in a market like this where there's a lot of noise. Like, where was the trade? There's like a second entry somewhere that we talked about. Like this second entry right here, you know. You would have got stopped out by literally one tick. You get stopped out by one tick and then it goes exactly where you wanted it to, you know. You're kind of trying to finesse that situation, but here, let me let this military drone pass over. Jeez. I think the Air Force is doing something. But okay, I'm actually gonna let it pass because that's really loud. Jeez. Okay, it's a little better. Ignore the car in the back if it's coming through on the audio. Um, so anyway, you can see we're just really stacked up. I mean, I could see some trades. There's a like a reversal pattern that's about to set up, but I don't want to. I don't really want to buy on this side of the range. I want to probably sell if I can. So all of this to me is just noise, and I'm just gonna wait. And it would have worked. This worked. This worked, but I don't know. You don't know what's going to work beforehand, and it's just better to wait. Um, we're starting to get that move higher. We almost get to this measurement. I'm sure if I move it here, we get a lot closer. Yeah, see, miss it by just a few ticks. So kind of get this big red bar out in the middle of nowhere. Let's see if we get a lower high. Maybe we can short it. There's the lower high right here. I can consider this a swing because it's like a triple bottom. So you might consider that a swing. You should at least give it a leg or a micro trend, and you can consider taking that. Yeah, I don't like trading right into this EMA, and it made a double bottom. It's not the best, but it does eventually tick lower. Then you get the reversal pattern right here, but let's look at it. It breaks lower, but then it closes back inside, so we know what that means. That means that there could be a failure, and it does fail. So if you took that trade,
Connection lost.
if you took that trade, you just have to know that, you know, this is a situation where you're going to have to probably scratch. And you would have got the scratch on this bar. You would have got that scratch. Uh, this almost looks like a reentry pattern, but the signal, this trigger bar, this green bar is the signal bar, so that's not really a good signal bar. And then two, the trigger bar doesn't even close particularly strong, so I would just skip all that. Now we're kind of working our way up. Let's see if we get like a reversal pattern. But to be honest, we moved past a previous swing, so we can at least let's just respect what this is doing. See what else it's trying to do. Like right here, if it breaks above, you get a reversal pattern, and it's kind of a breakout pullback of the range. So it's aggressive. It's for sure aggressive, but I might consider that trade. And you get just enough. You get just enough. You don't get much more. So, but right here we have this high. Here's the lower high. You might have even taken that lower high, but it's a little sideways. Let's see if we get like a breakout pullback. And So like right there, we get that breakout pullback technical, and you can do that right there. And this is actually also a reversal pattern, right? Because off this high, goes higher once, fails, it went higher again, it fails. So you would go short right there. Um, I know things that you don't know, but this one fails. And it's very similar actually to, I don't know, we talked about a reversal that failed somewhere. I feel like it was, I guess it's like this one, but in reverse. But it's very similar. It just, if you would have entered here, you just didn't get a chance to exit sooner than one tick above your signal bar, your trigger bar. So, you know, if you took this trade, you just got to take that out. It's not really any way to finesse this. And I would even try to say, oh, like you shouldn't have took the trade for X, Y, or Z, but this seems like a legitimate trade. You're at the highs of the range. We're trading back down into the range. It seems pretty legitimate in my opinion. It just doesn't work, and that's part of trading. Not every setup works, even though this strategy has, I would say, almost an 80% success rate. But 80% isn't 100. So every now and then, and I've noticed that it's on certain days, especially, you'll get these failures. There'll be a certain day where you'll get 3 or 4 failures, and so you just got to really, really hold your runners because that will make up for those losses, and try to make as few trades as possible, right? Don't spend your time trying to take 10 trades. Just see if you can get your 2, 3, 4 trades and walk away. So for me, when I see this bar, this looks like a reentry pattern. Uh, it's aggressive because it's still kind of all sideways in here, but pretty much when I see this failed second entry that doesn't work, then it gives me this really nice bear bar. All of the same things still apply. I would consider that. I say it's aggressive because it's sideways now, but you could consider just re-entering right there. Probably lower your size a little bit, but you could just re-enter right there. And it doesn't even go that far. Maybe you get a scalp. You get the scalp. That's about it. And then it does continue a little bit lower. And now we're getting kind of these two pushes off this EMA. So let's show it some respect and throw a line on it. I can see. In fact, I could have gotten that line a lot sooner if I would have went off these lows. I just wasn't really thinking about it. Could got that line a lot sooner off those. You can see how off those lows, it seems like it's just holding right there. So here's a point to make is that since this is a swing, this is the first high. So this is a lower high right here. This is a lower high entry. So you might actually trade that. I'll mark it. You might actually take that trade. You're at, kind of a new trend. We're at the range. You might want to take that trade. And then here, like there, it sets up the reversal pattern. I like that one a lot better than all of the other ones so far. Once it breaks below, I'll just go short right there off this high. Try to go higher once, higher twice, and it fails. Boom. I'll just take that short right there. We're talking about targets. I think we've already hit this target, so it doesn't really help you much. Yeah, for the most part, we're pretty much there. But maybe you're holding into this green arrow, maybe to our midline. I mean, if we're lucky, it'll come all the way down to the other side of the range. It'll just be up to us to hold that runner and see what it does. Here's another little break higher reversal type pattern. In fact, because this is a double top, this is also like a lower high. If I'm in any of these trades, I'm probably not going to add on. But if you see this double top, it's basically a lower high, and we still have some room to these lows. I say it's aggressive again, but you might even take that short as well. Um, that's what I see for now. And then pretty much, I mean, it takes off first of all, but then once we get into this lower side of the range, we're kind of done with our shorts. So we're just going to be managing the runners, but we're not really going to be taking any more shorts. And wow, it actually comes all the way down to this other side. So I mean, you could have, you just have to really keep your psychology in the right place, always looking for your next best trade because you probably lost some money on this trade. You lost some money over here, or whatever. But if you catch any one of these three trades and hold it, you made it back plus way, 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 way more. So just keep yourself in the right mind state. It's not always going to work in terms of your trade ideas, but there will be a few trade ideas a day that just give you a disproportionate amount of profit if you're patient. And something that I want to point out too is that on the big picture, we also are seeing a pattern, right? Because we had our trend, it broke out, it went one leg, two legs up, and then now it's testing the lows. So even the downtrend we have from the very beginning of the day, it still played out. The range played out and the downtrend played out. So there are a couple ways to look at the markets. The best thing you can do is just try to manage your trades as efficiently as possible. And you can see we're kind of still trending down, but you can't short anything down here. We're too close to the lows. It's technically like a little breakout pullback. Truth be told, it's really hard to chart. I would just look at it like a sideways range or something. I wouldn't worry about charting the downtrend too much. Uh, Man, this thing, I mean, you could have got a lot on that, but I digress. Nothing that I see here. I don't want to go short. I don't see any longs. This is the higher low. So that's the first setup I see, but I don't want to trade that engulfing bar. So I'm gonna wait for the reversal. Here you get that reversal, but we're definitely going sideways. We're definitely going sideways now. So I'm not 100% on this because it's so sideways. I would wait. Um, it shoots off. That's a good sign. I wouldn't have been too pressed on that. And you see we're trending higher. We kind of get this breakout side, move to a new high, but it's also congestion. So I want to see if it's going to pull back into this area. And it does. It does right there. Um, and that's pretty much it. There's 5 minutes left in the day. Off this double bottom, that can be a new low. So that's the first entry, and then kind of like a failed break lower second entry, failed second entry. To me, it's not a great setup by any means, but we're near the lows of the range. We're expecting the midline touch, maybe a high side touch. I think it's aggressive. It's a really big bar, so maybe you can enter a tick back or two, but I don't know. It's only 5 minutes left in the day. I wouldn't be pressed to take that trade. And you would have seen that limit order. You would have got that limit order all the way back, and that ends up being a nice trade. Um, and that gets us into like 12:05. So I'm pretty much done for the day after that one. But um, some nice trades. There were a couple traps in here, so you have to be kind of careful, especially over here. There's a couple reversal traps, but the trades that worked, you could have made a lot on, and you could have done fine for the day. So today was a little short, a little quick. There wasn't really that much price action to talk about, but um, I feel like there were some quality trades. But yeah, I mean, I had a great week. Like I said, my big thing is just like we got to stop doing this whole like average down thing. That's just a terrible idea. I mean, like right here, I really, if I would have took the loss right here, I give back all my profit for the week, right? So it's just a really bad idea. I'm really disappointed with this type of stuff. But I feel like this was a really good trade. So yeah, I need to work on just take that L, find another trade. You'll be all right. I mean, and the truth is I had work in the morning, so I can't just like sit around today. I had to go somewhere for a meeting, so like you know, I knew that I'd be done by. I had to leave the house by like 8. So yeah, I didn't even get to see all of these trades until after the fact. Um, but that's still no excuse. It is what it is. If you take the L because you don't have enough time to trade, that's just what you have to accept that day. Um, you can't make excuses like that. Like, oh, I don't have a lot of time to trade, so let me just take any trade. That's a recipe for disaster. Um, and like another recipe for disaster, because I've done this before and I know what this is like. So what happens is that you'll start trading on a day that you maybe don't have a lot of time or whatever, and you'll take this trade, and instead of taking your loss right here and being done, you let it play out, and then maybe you'll average down or take another position to bring the average down or whatever. And then what will happen is, okay, you got to leave. Let's say you got to leave at, it doesn't really work in this instance, but if you have to leave at 7 or something, what will happen is that, okay, now you got to leave like legit for whatever your commitment is, but prices haven't pushed back higher yet, right? Prices are still hanging out down here and you're losing on both contracts. What do? Right? You can't leave your computer with open positions. You come back and that thing, I mean, look at it, right? Like depends on what part of the day you're looking at it, but it does go way lower. So you have to really just understand that if you have a short time commitment, that's when it's most important to take your loss where you're supposed to take your loss. And that's okay. Like it's gonna look not as good on your P&L because there's gonna be a losing day on your P&L. But I'd rather have a small loser than a really big loss because I had to go somewhere and now I'm stuck in a bad trade and I'm just stressed and all this other stuff. So really, really poor trading. I've done this 2 days in a row, so that's really an issue. That's not good at all. Um, so I'm definitely going to be working on that this weekend, and also holding my runners, right? Because here was another space where, like, if I look at this trade, this one that I took that won. Okay, so I would have entered here. I got my scalp, no problem. I need to look for two exit signals, right? An exit signal is going to be a swing lower, so a swing lower than a previous swing, or like a reversal pattern off the highs, right? So let's see when we get a swing lower or a reversal pattern. So right there, that would be my new swing right here. Um, no swing. So here's my new swing right there. See how it never swung lower. It made lower like double tops, but it never swung lower. This is my new swing right there. Um, okay, right there. It makes a swing lower right there. So that's the first signal. And then boom, you get a reversal. Look, they almost come at the same exact time. So you get the swing lower right here on this bar. On the very next bar, you get that reversal pattern. So we go from here to here if I would have just followed my runner strategy. That's an extra 33, 29, 75, 33, 32. So like an extra 3 points, an extra 3 points just by holding it, just by holding it and waiting for your signals. So I did that almost every day this week where I exited sooner than I was supposed to, and I could have made so much more. So those are two things that going into the weekend I'm definitely going to hammer down on. But other than that, it was a pretty good week. You can always do better, but you have to also just pat yourself on the back for the progress you are making. So that's a little long winded here at the end, but sometimes I want to talk about just the process of trading and not just the trading setups, especially when on short days like this. Because oftentimes you know I know the setups. What we're constantly improving on is our process and our ways of thinking so that we are always trading with the right psychology. Even if we're losing trades, you want to trade with the right psychology. And yeah, that's always a big thing. So that's all I got, though. It's Friday. I'm going to be back again on Monday. But until then, it's your boy Kamal Hart, and I'm out. Peace.